Hello, welcome to Explore Classroom. My name is Kip Hotman. I work at the National Geographic Society in Washington, D.C., and I will be your host today. At National Geographic, we believe that anyone can be an explorer and that you have the power to make a difference in the world, no matter how old you are. Explore Classroom is here to inspire you with stories from the field and connect you with our National Geographic explorers live to answer your questions. Before we get into today's lesson, I'd love to welcome all of the classes who are joining us today, especially Toluca Lake, Dr. J. Michael McGrath, Falaseo, RBMH Montessori Elementary Schools. Welcome, friends. Creekside Intermediate, St. Margaret Mary, and North Star Middle Schools. Hello, and welcome, friends. We also have Nature and Baker Smith Homeschools. Hello, friends, and welcome. And we have IBIME Lagos and Macris joining us internationally live. Thank you and welcome, friends. Yes, we are so glad to have all of you all here today. And today, our explorer is none other than Babak Tafreshi. Babak is a science photojournalist and cinematographer who merges art and science through visual stories. Babak's work takes him into the field all around the world, from where he was born in Tehran, Iran, to Las Palmas in the Canary Islands, down to south to the Atacama Desert in Chile, up north to Iceland, and even here in the Southwest United States at national parks like Zion and Arches. He lives in Massachusetts and works to preserve the natural night environment against light pollution, and also to connect cultures through common interest to the night sky. Babak is currently studying how our growing artificial lights affect the relationship of wildlife with the night sky. And we are so excited that we have Babak here live to share more about his work and answer questions from our students. So, Babak, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Kip. It's a pleasure to be with everyone here today. My work begins usually right after sunset. This is the time that I'm ready to start working. When people start to go home to watch a TV or dinner or have a dinner, have a party, this is the time that my work begins with capturing twilight. In twilight, you have moments with the new moon, for example. Here is the new moon right above the minarets in High Sierra, California. And the red is coming from, in fact, the wildfires. It was in August, and the fires created that red dusk. Sometimes later, you start to see another phenomenon, which is known as the Earth shadow. This is Grand Canyon in Arizona-Utah border. And the blue band is the shadow of our own planet casting over the atmosphere and into space. You can see it every night, in fact, right after sunset. Just look to the opposite direction. The sun is setting on the west, you look on the right, you need an open, clear horizon. And you can see it also in the morning, just before sunrise at the opposite horizon, which is west. The blue band is coming with some rays, which is another atmospheric phenomenon known as crepuscular rays. Later in twilight, you start to see the Milky Way emerging. Let me move away for a second so you can see the entire Milky Way here with the brightest star in the center, which is, in fact, planet Venus. It was almost like a supernova in the galaxy. This was taken in Lake Turkana in northern Kenya, where it is also known as the cradle of humankind, where early humans are formed about 1 or 2 million years ago. And it's also a dark sky place. I was there to document the nighttime environment. I was also very careful at the shore because it's home to many, many Nile crocodiles, and they're active at nighttime. And I could see them, in fact, not far from me. So there are challenges at nighttime. You are usually alone. It's cold. You are fighting with the sleep cycle of your body, and you are also encountering some wild animals time to time. And you're sometimes in the wrong place in the wrong time. People don't expect to see you, but there are rewards too. You get to see some of the most wonderful shows of nature. Let's have a look at this video that summarize what I'm going to share with you on the wonders of the night sky. Natural night sky comes with the beauty of the Milky Way. This was in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I found this dark spot in Massachusetts to see the Milky Way above these boats which were moving with the tides. You see also some planes and satellites moving across the sky. This is in Maine with fireflies. Fireflies are almost everywhere on the planet they exist, except for Antarctica, but their population is decreasing due to light pollution, partially. The bright meteor in the sky shows also includes moonset and moonrise. The moonset in Zion National Park of Utah, or moonrise in Acadia National Park, right on the ocean shoreline of Atlantic Ocean. This is about 2 or 3 in the morning. So some of these rewarding scenes happen when most of the people are sleeping. I was sitting next to the ocean here in New Zealand, where the southern sky is visible behind me, or now in the Arctic latitude of Iceland, the most majestic display of aurora is visible. It's known as aurora crown or corona, and it's happening overhead. We are now during the solar maximum. Every 11 years, we have a maximum of solar activity, and we have more aurora appearing in Arctic latitude as well as mid latitudes. Full moon rising over the Boston Light nearby where I live, and this is taken with a long telephoto lens. That's why the moon is so huge, and it's red because of the atmospheric refraction that our own atmosphere is causing any object on the horizon to be red. Later in twilight, you also see sometimes a bright comet. Every few years, we have one of these great comets visible in the sky, and they become so large that you may even see them from inside the city. And outside, through the eye of a camera, they are just spectacular with a long tail. They are icy bodies of minor planets. Imagine like a big icy mountain traveling across the solar system. And when they get close to us, because of the sun and solar heat, they generate this tail. Let me show you this image too. In twilight, when we get about 1 hour after sunset, the astronomical observatories begin to work. This one is Mauna Kea in Hawaii. I go to many of these observatories as part of my job to document their nighttime environment. One of the world's largest and most advanced is on top of Mauna Kea, the highest point in Hawaii, in fact, the highest point in the entire Pacific Ocean. And it's home to 2 twin telescopes known as Keck. They're sending lasers into space in order to monitor how atmosphere of the Earth is disturbing the image of the stars and remove that disturbing effect, remove that turbulence from the image. It's known as the adaptive optics. I sometimes visit radio telescopes, not only optical observatories, we have telescopes in every part of the light spectrum. Radio, in fact, is very important for astronomers because it reveals nebulosity and things deep in the galaxy which we cannot see in optical light. These are 66 radio telescopes working together in Atacama Desert of Chile. They're very high altitude, about 5,000 meters, one of the world's highest. And the image is a long exposure, about half an hour. During that 30 minutes, the Earth is rotating, therefore you see star trails forming because of the fixed camera. So that point in the center is where the axis of the Earth rotation is pointing. It's called the celestial pole. This one is in the south. In the north, that celestial pole is marked with the North Star Polaris. And one of the other ones of these observatories was in West Texas. It's known as McDonald Observatory. It's a radio telescope plus optical. And I was there to document the environment. Then I noticed this very active storm on the horizon with clear sky above. This is a perfect condition for a phenomena we are going to talk about. And soon after, I realized they're active. These red sprites, the red streaks above me are part of that atmospheric phenomena. I'm going to show you one close-up image. Have a look here and leave it to Kip because this is our first guessing image. What is this?
These are fascinating, Babak. To all the kiddos out there watching, raise your hand if you think the night sky is interesting. I know, I see those hands out there up. Yes, I do too. So let's play a quick game to think about this. So take a look at the image on your screen. What do you think those red streaks are? Students, please share your answers aloud with your teacher. And teachers, type the answers that you hear in your chat bar. Once again, the question is, what do you think those red streaks are? I'll give you guys a second to see what you think. I'm already seeing answers coming in the chat bar. I see stars. Okay, I like that. Oh, interesting. Star pollution, a little bit different there. Dark matter, solar flares. I see, something as big as a galaxy. Some think the auroras flaring up. And there's some things that I'm curious to even research myself. Space dust and nebulas. Wow, this is fascinating. So obviously our students out there have a lot of background information on your work, Babak, which is good. They are already experts and explorers. So
May I reveal the answer?
I'm going to pass the mic back to you, Babak. Tell us a little bit, what are those red streaks?
Well, they are red sprites. Here's the answer. And this is an atmospheric phenomenon related to lightning. When the lightning happens, some of the particles that create the lightning, they're charged particles. They go down towards the ground and some go up towards the sky. So somewhere in between a space and the ground, about 50 kilometers above us, the red sprites are formed by these upwarding charged particles generated from the same storm cloud, which is on the horizon, for example, just behind me. Not every time it happens, and it's not visible red to human eyes because our eyes is not sensitive in low light to color. Therefore, we see patchy diffuse objects at nighttime colorless, while there is an actual color the camera can capture. For example, you don't see the color of the Milky Way with your eyes, but the camera can reveal that. And the same with the red sprites. You don't see the color, but there is a color there. And it was very mysterious. Many people reported red sprites for decades as patchy ghosts appearing in the sky for half a second, and then another one comes, and every few seconds one would appear. Nobody believed until in 1980s it was scientifically proven. Let's have a look at the video that shows the same night in West Texas where I captured that image in a time-lapse video, so you can see more how they are actually appearing in the sky to the camera. As the night progressed, I noticed this supercell, the active storm on the horizon, is active constantly, and that gives the perfect condition for red sprites to happen. I would say 99.9% of humanity have never seen red sprites, and maybe most of them never heard about this term because it's such a new thing. But I'd like to share that with you today because my work as an astrophotographer, night photographer, not necessarily relates to astronomy. It could be also about atmospheric phenomena, such as lightning, red sprites, other phenomena like blue jets and corona around the sun, atmospheric corona, or even more mysterious object known as ball lightning. Have you ever heard about that before? It's not been documented so far. There are things that maybe your generation would be able to document it when you grow up. And astronomy is a big part of my work, but not necessarily all of that. For example, here I was in Guatemala, and now you're looking at an active volcano with the star trails. It's a long exposure, therefore the stars are moving. Or this one, a close-up of another volcano in Guatemala as it's erupting and stars are rotating above it. This is another volcano, not active. It's actually very close to where I'm born, in Tehran. It's just 60, 70 kilometers from the capital of Iran, known as Mount Damavand. And it's about 18,000 feet or almost 6,000 meters. But the point is, many of my images are taken with some ambient light coming from the moon, and that helps to reveal the night in a way that our eyes cannot see it. To my eye, it was much fainter, but after 10, 20 seconds of exposure, the camera reveals things that we cannot see. This is another example in Colorado. We are in Great Sand Dunes National Park. Very odd place for Colorado in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, but you can find these really massive sand dunes there. And the light just next to my head is not the sun. This is moon. Moon set at midnight. A few minutes after that, the moon was gone and everything was in pitch black darkness. The sky was darker too. Sometimes there is no moon. Then you use other source of the lights. We use red light most often at night. This is in Capitol Reef National Park of Utah. And the reason we use red is because our night vision is not disturbed by that light. If you use white or blue, like bright LED, white, blue LED, you completely change your night vision, because after some time, then our eyes get adapted to darkness. You can see more and more, but with using white light, you completely lose that night vision. Red light is also good for environment, because many nocturnal species, which are active at nighttime, are not affected too much by the red light. Many places where the sea turtles are hatching, like in Florida, in Mexico, in Central America, the beaches are now changed their street lights to red in order to reduce the impact on sea turtles. I also document celestial phenomena like a bright meteor or meteor showers, comets, celestial conjunctions. Just above my head are two of the brightest planets in the Earth's sky, Venus and Jupiter, in a very close conjunction. Conjunction means grouping of two or more of the celestial objects in the sky. Or Northern Lights. This image appeared on a special cover of the special edition of National Geographic in 2015 after a very impressive aurora activity. It was the most intense aurora activity in 10 years. And I happened to be in Iceland. During this time, when activity of aurora is very high, you can also see it from mid-latitude, even from Maine. This is in central Maine at latitude of 42 degrees. And it's very surprising, but you can see aurora on the horizon from northern part of the mainland US. And when you go higher up, of course, you can see more impressive northern lights. I do a stargazing program every year in late August here. It's more like a star party where people come with their telescopes and photographers and speakers, and we do this for 1 week. We have telescopes to observe the deepest sky or cameras to capture that. I sometimes take my own family there. And this image with my kid, who was just 5 years old at this time, reminds me of my own childhood. I got into astronomy when I was 12 years old with the first look at the moon through a small telescope. I couldn't believe my eyes. You know, the amount of detail that you can see with a tiny telescope of the moon is just mind-blowing. The craters, mountains, every single details of another celestial body out in space is visible through a small telescope. And that simple look really changed my life. Look where I am now after more than 30 years. I've been doing this all across the planet in 7 continents. And all started with that first look to the moon. In 97, I got my first assignment, a professional image that I was paid to do, a cover image for an astronomy magazine of a great comet, Hale-Bopp. We had another great comet in 2007, another one in 2020. Every decade or so, there is one of these bright comets in the sky. In 2007, I started an international project known as The World at Night, with 40 photographers in 20 countries. We publish books in different languages, and the website is the greatest collection of such images on web. We focus on how the World Heritage appears at night in order to show that we all share the same sky under this roof. We are just one family of humanity, regardless of our religion, culture, and geographical position. We share one single roof. We also care about the night sky, and we try to transfer this message that the night sky has its own values, like a lake and mountain, that we can protect it. And it's very important for not only astronomers, but also millions of nocturnal species. It's very vital to them, in fact. Rotating skies above Persepolis in Iran. And now I'd like to share with you a second image, which is interesting. It's also a part of the wonders of the night sky, a phenomena in the sky, which was captured in Yosemite National Park. Let me move away. You're looking at these streaks above a famous waterfall and cliff in Yosemite National Park of California. I leave it to you, Kip.
Okay, yes, we're going to do a little bit of engagement with our audience out there. And Babak, I have to tell you, there are questions just popping in the chat. There's so much interest. This is exciting. We'll do a little interaction and then be able to move into Q&A for all the classrooms. So we are excited to learn more. So my friends out there, take a look at this picture. It's paying a close attention to that streak in the middle of the picture. What do you think that represents? What do you think that is? Students, please share your answers aloud with your teacher. And teachers, please type some of the answers that you hear in your chat bar. Once again, what do you think that streak is in the middle of the image out there? And I didn't even get through the question, Babak. There's already all kinds of answers from students popping up in the chat. I'm seeing comments. A lot of people think that that is a comet. Asteroid, shooting stars, super fast comet. I see lightning out there, but comet consistently. Do you have any video like you had prior that you could share with us that may clarify?
Yes, let's have a look at the video that explains a part of this. Well, night sky is no longer completely natural. We are in a space age for more than 70, 60 years now. We are in this space age. And during the past 3 years, there has been a project which suddenly exploded in number of satellites. These are small satellites known as Starlink. And people observe and report them from across the planet nowadays. Some people see them and think they have witnessed UFOs. And some people think they are a group of asteroids crossing the sky. These are satellites made for network coverage, so signals for internet generally. And at the moment, there are about 5,000 of them in space, and it will be more than 10,000. When it's complete, it's 12,000 and could be other phases. So at the moment, we are in an era where there are more and more satellites in the sky. They're fun to observe, but they're also concerning because we don't know how many of them are going to be visible. And sooner or later, the night sky will be dominated by these satellites. We no longer can see things that we were used to observe with telescopes or even unaided eyes. So we are also, in a way, polluting the night sky with satellites. There are just too many of them too fast. Some satellites are very important to have for science purposes, and some satellites are more for commercial purposes. So there needs to be regulation in order to how many of these satellites are going to space.
Wow.
And we are in a phase when you kids grow up. We may no longer see the natural night sky like today unless we start regulations for satellites. Otherwise, we will end up with hundreds of thousands of satellites in the next few decades.
You raise awareness around a topic that I've never thought of before, and I imagine some of the audience as well. So this is fascinating and such important information. 5,000 plus. And
Yeah.
I see that the kids.
And just from one project, this is a start, not every satellite, just one project.
Wow. So, well, this is a great transition to, see what the students out there are curious about. Well, first, I want to say thank you so much for providing an amazing look at your work. Your images are captivating, truly, my friend. And we're going to now shift over to the question and answer portion of the show. So to all of you all out there watching online, please send us your questions in the chat bar. We record them all as they're sent in. So please only send each question once. And teachers, please let us know who's asking the question so we can give your class or student a proper shout out. And if you are an on-screen guest, get ready with a nice loud voice and I will tell you when it's your turn. It's funny, I live in Colorado now and don't really see fireflies, but I grew up in Kentucky and that was just part of my childhood. So definitely passionate.
Colorado is the end of the edge. So we have fireflies in the United States from East Coast, almost to the border of Utah, Colorado. So the Rocky Mountains is the border of their activity. But nowadays, we don't see many fireflies generally because they're affected by pesticide, climate change, and light pollution. They're very, very sensitive to light, especially amber and white light. So if we have extra light in our backyard, by turning off that and reducing pesticide, we can bring back fireflies. It happened in my backyard. You know, we see fireflies this year. During the summer, we saw it because we turn off a few extra lights.
Fascinating. Okay, well, I appreciate the advice there too. That is great to know. We've got a lot of questions coming in from YouTube, both on screen and YouTube. And we have a question from Oak Harbor Elementary. And Adeline is wondering, how did you get interested in this?
Well, it all started with the first look at the moon. And I think I had some passion to astronomy in general, but with the small telescope, my interest really increased to another level. It was a milestone. And then traveling to a place to see dark sky was my next step. So we made a small group of teenagers. We traveled together. Maybe if you can find an astronomy club in your area, every major city in the US and across the world has an astronomy club, and they have their own observing places and monthly programs. And if you can join them, you have access to one of these dark sky places. Also have a look at the International Dark Sky Association website. It's darksky.org, O-R-G. And /places, it takes you to a map of designated dark sky places across the world. We have more than 50 of them in the US and more than 200 worldwide. Some of the US national parks and state parks are now designated dark sky places. They protect the dark sky there.
It's great feedback, and darksky.org is something that all the students out there can chat with their teacher about, potentially asking if they can get online or at home as well. So YouTubers curious about, keep seeing meteor, comets, eclipse, kind of some common things. But we have one specific YouTuber, Bodhi, and he is curious about when is the next meteor shower, or if you have any information on that.
Sure, well, I have it ready for you here. Just have a quick look. The next one is in mid-December, the next major one. The next small meteor shower is coming only in a few days on October 20th, known as Orionid, and it's related to Halley's Comet, in fact. But the next big meteor shower is Geminid on December 14th. And this is how the Geminid looks like. You know, the meteors are coming out from the radiant of the shower in Gemini. And this constellation has two bright stars next to each other known as the twins. And it's visible almost the entire night. It's more active near midnight. So mark your calendar, December 14th.
Great question. And we have so many questions and would love, Babak, to ask you questions all day long. Unfortunately,
one thing, Kip, that I like to mention is about the eclipse coming in 2 days.
Yes,
and especially for a student who might be in the path or nearby, we have an annular solar eclipse happening on October 14th, this Saturday. And this is a rare phenomenon. The eclipse would be something like that. It's not safe to see it without eclipse glasses because the sun during totality is still shining. Annular solar eclipse happens when the moon is not large enough to obscure the entire sun. So there is a ring of fire visible. So you have to use eclipse glasses like this one behind me, or eclipse filters, which are made for cameras and telescopes. And when you are adopted with that, you are safe. With these methods, it's very unsafe. So do not use something which is not made for this purpose. This is where you can see it anywhere from Oregon to northern Nevada, all the way to Utah, and then to New Mexico and Texas. This is a place in the US to see, and as well as Mexico, Yucatan Peninsula, all the way to Brazil. The annular solar eclipse will be visible. The rest of the area will see a partial eclipse, something like this. this is a partial solar eclipse. And if you miss this one, or you're expecting to see a total solar eclipse, you just need to wait a few months. On April 8th, 2024, we have a great total solar eclipse across Mexico, US, and Canada. The path is covering everywhere from Mexico to Texas, all the way to upstate New York, to Niagara Falls, in fact, and Quebec.
Well, thank you for the information about this Saturday. I'm not sure if many the students out there knew that. So that's definitely, so if you all heard the areas that Babak mentioned, if you live, please check it out. We had the chance a few years ago in a school I taught at to stop school during the eclipse and let the students get the glasses and view the eclipse. And it was beautiful. It was amazing. So really appreciate you sharing that with us, Babak.
Yeah, if they don't have eclipse glasses, you can also project the image of the sun. Just use a cardboard, few dots, and underneath you will see a projection of the sun safely.
Awesome. These are tasks, friends, that you can do now in your class. You have very specific items and activities to do from Babak. So thank you again, Babak. And thank you to all the students and teachers watching today. We have a very exciting Explore Classroom season planned. So please register at natgeoed.org/Explore Classroom. When you register, you can request a chance to be featured up here on screen with us. And teachers, we'd love to see some of your students' work. If your class is inspired to create something or take action after one of our Explore Classroom events, please share it with us by emailing explorerclassroom@ngs.org. Join us next week with young explorer and Filipina artist Isa Barte to learn how she is co-creating the first ever Philippine Youth Atlas with local youth leaders using art, photography, maps, poetry, and more, all to advance climate solutions. Have a great day, everyone. Stay curious and keep exploring. We will see you next time.